Let's go.
Let's go. Hey, everyone. This is the Nips and Sips podcast show. Clearly, we are fired up this morning. So on a special topic is how PT students should, I guess, interact during their fills, maybe also interact during school. What are the expectations of a student while they're on the affiliations? At least with us, we have some expectations that may be a little bit different from the norm out there, but I believe affiliations are a good opportunity to improve yourself and set yourself up and set your career up. But that's what this topic's about. We've been talking about it pre-show, and we're cooking on it, so we're going to keep it going. But before we get too much into it, Brandon, how's it going?
Good, man. Nice Wednesday morning. I think it's going to be like 75 today, so it's like the first nice day in forever. And we're already in May here. I don't know when this episode is going to drop, but so beautiful day. Did some work, was doing some videos, some content stuff. Always tedious in that nature, but gotta do necessary evil. So got my coffee in hand, in my Puerto Rican cup. It's probably one of my other favorite mugs here.
It looks nice.
Got that when I was in Puerto Rico a couple years ago.
Nice.
But yeah, we have like Jeremy said, we were just kind of talking because we're both have interns and stuff, and not so much even the interns. I'm going to put some of this stuff on the schools and their expectations, and maybe it's this whole movement we're going through in society where you have to, I think, be overly kind. And in doing so, you shy away from the truth. And I don't think that's good for people in general. It's the whole participation award thing. It's all, it's getting away from first, second, third, and everybody's a winner because you tried. No, I mean, especially when you're coming into a medical field where, granted, we're not saving necessary lives. We're not on the front line. Most of us, right? Generally, we're not in the ER generally. I'm sure there's some PTs that are, but we're still healthcare professionals that probably spend the most time with our patients. And, to have the line, did they kill anybody? Are they safe? And that being the minimum requirement for somebody to pass is doing them a disservice. It's doing their future patients a disservice. And I'll even go say it's doing your program a disservice in the long run.
You're doing your profession a disservice.
Yeah.
Really. And piggyback off of what you said, yes, we may not directly save lives in some sense, and be with me and you at our points in our lives, we've probably done some differentials on some people and figure out some things where they need immediate surgery and essentially save their lives,
or avoided surgery, which who knows? I said or avoided surgery, which you never know if they could have had a sudden death because of surgery, but that's happened.
That's exactly where I was going. So you got to it. So that we've talked about that on the show. We talked about it with Chris Carroll. We'll see people on inpatient, where simple orthopedic procedures go horribly wrong. Nothing to even discredit the surgeon or something like that. There was a ticking time bomb. Not really. Their body did not want to have the surgery. We got to remember, even the most least invasive of all orthopedic procedures, once you start to go playing God and going inside someone's body, there is a chance that the body will not accept it and can lead to a cascade of very terrible events, including strokes, spinal cord injuries, whatever it may be, infections. So I think especially in the orthopedic realm, as we move to this direct access, autonomous style of practitioners, we need the best out there. We need to have people who are competent, who aren't just mill machines, or even people who are in the mill style places. Need to be able to do a good enough job so that people aren't just, that just doesn't become a process. Here's PT, you try for 4 weeks, you do the same crap or you don't even check things and off to surgery they go. And I think that starts with the mentality change as required at the student level. I think as setting up obviously students in good affils. I know the students or my fellow classmates that are unfortunately got into those places. What happens to them when they graduate? They work in those places, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. It's like hate to make the analogy, but it's like the spouses that beat their spouses, I guess. And it's generation after generation. You're like, oh, you think that they want, follow their fathers doing the same thing, but now it's like pre-programmed and that sort of stuff. And I think that happens at the student level. If that's what they're exposed to is mediocrity, then they're going to do mediocrity. But it also takes a point. I was talking to one of Mike De La Cruz, your boy.
Yeah.
And he's not, I guess his last affair wasn't one that he especially appreciated or enjoyed compared to what he had at Eurofil, obviously. But we were talking about how you take something from it, and how even at the student level he was trying to up the game of the other clinicians there. So even if in a shitty situation you're coming in with passion and energy, you may ruffle some feathers of CIs or other clinicians, but they're not going to fail you on that. But it's something you have to have the students take some accountability in their learning.
Yeah, I think when it comes to ruffling CIs, that just comes down to, are you aware of your surroundings? Are you aware of, what you need to do to pass to get through the affiliation? Do you have emotional intelligence, emotional IQ, basically, right? If and you will probably find out early on if what you're doing is bothering the CI, and to the point where it's a detriment, you'll know early on. Just stop doing it, suck it up, bite your tongue for the 8, 10, 12 weeks you're there, and learn what you need to learn and kind of get out. The other settings where you can actually thrive and is a great learning environment, and you have the better CIs, well, you need to relish those as a student. You need to relish those opportunities and learn as much as you can. And if you're just going in like kind of doing your 9-to-5 type deal, not really eager to learn, I question why you even got into the field. And I understand not every environment may not be for you. We're not really talking about that. But if you're supposedly wanting to do a certain setting, and you're just like there just to pass the time, like, get out of this profession, get out of the fill.
Yeah. No, maybe the mill is good for you.
Yeah.
That 8 to 4, 8 to 5, whatever it may be. Don't have to think about it much during the day. Your notes are probably fairly simplistic, I would say. I remember when I worked in the mill, it was PT, TAL, RX well. So it was 4 full words was the most of the assessments I was reading. I wrote
after 9 years, my my documentation has shortened up though.
I'm
not gonna lie, man.
It's definitely shortened, but it's not that short. That sort of thing. I've read your documentation. But still, like, nonetheless, maybe that's it for you. I mean, with our interviewing questions, and obviously I have a more sportsy type of population, and people think that's attractive and that sort of stuff. And one of the main things is when students are like, they always like, I'll want to do anything to get into that. And I thought that too, especially go in. I was like, I'll do ever to get into this field, to get into more athletes and that sort of stuff. And I remember talking to some recruiters, they're like, a lot of it's just, being in the right place at the right time. And I believe that. I was like, oh, I guess it's just dumb luck and that sort of stuff. And I don't really agree with that anymore. It's putting yourself in opportunities to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
It's luck isn't, it's preparation plus something equals luck. I forget what
Preparation plus opportunity. Being prepared for when the opportunity comes equals luck.
There you go.
So the more prepared you are, the more lucky you are.
Exactly. So that's how I feel. It's like, all right, trifecta, the sports fill or pursue, which has a ton of athletes and a great population as well, did luckily happen. We prepared ourselves. We went through training. We went to town on our clinical affiliations. We did more afterwards. We prepared ourselves and everything like that. And when I have students and they're like, yeah, really, I want this more than anything. I'm like, oh, great. What have you done? And when it gets to crickets and that sort of stuff, we're like, oh, I read this article. And then I'm like, oh, was that part of your class? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, that's not you doing everything. Versus I have some students who are like, I read this, I took this continuing education course and this and that. I mean, I'm part of this outside club or membership of, an SIG. So make sure you're doing setting yourself up. I think the expectations, especially from a school standpoint, is like, oh, go to school and just graduate and you're great. No, that's the bare minimum, is showing up to class and passing your test. There's still, let's say, I mean, your class is what, we're probably 8 to 4, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday ish, and one maybe short day.
Yeah. I think 7 to 5. A couple went to 7 or 8 at night. A couple.
Yeah. I think Wednesdays were our late night. But nonetheless, a couple hours every day where, all right, sure, you can be studying. And then there's a couple other hours, I'm sure, in the week where you can do some other stuff. It's not every weekend you're studying for an exam. All right, look at other opportunities. And then if you're bitching about, I don't have money to take courses, there's plenty of free resources out there. Or there's ones that legitimately, it's a cup of coffee that you probably can make on your own to get onto some sort of webinars or whatever it may be. And that looks great. And that sets you up where it's just like, all right, maybe I will take this person and set them up for a better fill with better mentorship. But make sure you guys aren't just doing the bare minimum. Showing up to class isn't something that you should get a pat on the back for. Congrats for getting into school. It's a big accomplishment, but just showing up to class is not something that sets you apart.
Yeah, and like I think I had a Friday with the fellow about this, or maybe we talked on a podcast that students nowadays are like worried about PT school because they're going to be burnt out. Then this is not the profession for you if you're worried about school burning you out. Granted, there's a lot of things that need to change in the DPT curriculum. Goes beyond this call. But to share some context, we've had students where we're talking to the CI and we're telling them that they have trouble reasoning, they have trouble interacting with patients, they have trouble being outgoing, they have trouble just coming in and doing the little things. Are you going the extra mile? Are you cleaning up? Are you doing things that are going to help the clinic run daily? Forget about being an all-star clinician. Can you just operate within a clinic for a day and a week, right? Those things probably are not trusted or valued enough. And this is where it comes to the CCCEs of school. Oh, well, they had COVID this year, so take it easy on them. Are they safe? Are they hurting anybody? Just because you didn't directly hurt somebody doesn't mean you're indirectly doing them a disservice as well. Granted, you guys are students and you're there to learn, so we're not saying you need to be experts at everything, but you need to be enthusiastic, doing the little things, helping out, asking questions, having and you could tell the ones that played a sport or are competitive or athletic in some type of way versus the ones who don't, because athletes will seek out feedback, or good ones anyway, right? They want to be coached. They're not just accepting coaching, they want to be coached, right? Same thing with students, passionate students, and that's what this podcast is for. We want to elevate the profession. If you don't like what we're saying, that's fine, turn us off. But to be a student, and especially if you're lucky enough to get in a fill where you have some good people around you, like want to be coached, want to learn, want to get better, take the extra 20 minutes during lunch or during after the day, after, you know, you've had a long day and you just want to go home. Hey, can you show me X, Y, and Z? Can we go over this case? It's really bothering me. Shoot them an email. Like there are all these things you can do, you know, to set yourself apart and make your career that much easier down the line. But too many people, too many students have the mindset that, you know, they just have to do the minimum requirements of school, and that's going to set them up to be, you know, to do fine. And but then they're the first ones to complain on the outside. We're not getting paid enough. The hours suck. I hate the environment I'm in. I'm burnt out. I'm not satisfied in my career. X, Y, and Z. Well, like Jeremy said, what are you doing to make it better? Because at the end of the day, you control your life.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy with something, well, you got to look at you first.
Yeah. Yeah. And you probably know the quote better as well. As I think this was Chris Rock, not Chris Rock. Thinking about Chris Rock after the slap there. The Rock is like, you're not burnt out, you're just unmotivated. You know, that's
I've heard that one before.
All these quotes, but you know, that's it. It's like, if you're not loving what you're doing, yeah, it's crap. It's gonna suck every single day. My brother, for instance, he finally got out of it, but he was with a company, and he did not like the company from like the first week, but he's kind of contractually obligated for like 2+ years, and God, he loathed it. Like every time I talked to him, he despised what he did, and you can see it was taking a toll on him. And the second that he can get out, he got out, but which I'm happy about. And he had to take I remember he was asking me, he's like, and he was making really good money and everything like that. And he texted me and my brother, he's just like, would you guys, to take a job and something that you really think that you would enjoy, but take a significant pay cut, would you do it? And I didn't know what the amount of a pay cut or was or anything like that. I was like, fuck yeah. Hell yeah. You know, nothing like being able to enjoy what you do. I mean, it's mostly what we do for our entire life. I forget how much percentage is, you know, the standard American at work, but it's a very large percent. You know, your coworkers essentially are like an extension of your family. You know, you're there for 40, 50, 60 hours per week. And then he was just like, me and my other brother, same thing. He's like, hell yeah. And he's just like, yeah, it's gonna be about, you know, a third of what I used to make. And I was like, oh, that's a big difference. And but talking to him a month or two in, he's like, I'm so happy I did it. So, you know, that's the thing is, you know, or maybe you're just not motivated, maybe you're not in a stimulating environment. Again, maybe you're not doing enough. I mean, you know, is there a ton of jobs available where, you know, compared to the mill style where they don't foster growth and education and, you know, excellence amongst therapists versus places that do that? Yeah, there's probably not as many jobs of the better kind, but you can make the opportunities within it. You know, there's a thing called an entrepreneur. So almost having a business within a business. So you can set up something, research something, establish your own niche within a practice. But that all requires you doing an extra something. You don't just have a niche style practice within a practice or set up your own place by just luck. You know, again, it's you putting in the effort, it's you taking courses on it, researching it, putting posts about it, everything like that. So, you know, I have to take some accountability. If you're hating your job, you know, a lot of it of that is on you, my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, not too much else to say after that. I think kind of got the big pieces off the chest there. Hopefully this resonates with you know, our audience, and things like that. So, you know, don't be a jabroni, right? Don't just kind of go through the motions. Find something you're passionate about, find a niche you're passionate about it, and seek it out. You'll be surprised who's willing to help you out if you reach out to them and ask them for advice or ask them where to go or have a better experience and things like that. I'd say some of my best interns are the ones that have reached out to me for an internship, versus the ones that just the school sets them up with it. I do have certain schools that they know the level that we're at,
Mhm.
and will only send over candidates that they think are good fits.
Yeah. Uh,
So that does help weed it up. And even still, at some of those times we say no. We don't think they're going to match personality wise as well. We don't think they're just going to be a good fit in our culture. It's a 3 month to fill at least. That's a quarter of the year.
yeah,
We got to spend with you.
yeah. Our
So are you
businesses
going
are
to
on the line.
well, I'm,
You
yeah,
know, you know,
are you going to make that more enjoyable, or are you going to be a headache for 3 months?
yeah. And
You
just
know,
being on top of that, and we've had this as a discussion is, especially if you're getting towards your final fills and everything like that, um, or wherever you're at, residency, fellowship level, 10 years out, if you're in an environment where you're learning from somebody, I don't care what level you're at. I'm always going to be like this is, be moldable to some degree. Sometimes we get, some students have had a fill, or their professors kind of self-proclaim themselves as a guru, or they've done research in this sort of field. Great, that's awesome. You had a great experience with that. But a lot of things don't add from the research realm to the clinical realm, or from a previous experience to a new clinical experience. Every environment's different, every patient's different. So to come in and try and regurgitate what you had before and just try and do it again, and not trying to learn and be moldable to your new scenario or to new advice and new experiences is only a detriment to you. And when I've seen people be resistant to that, sometimes in our courses and that sort of stuff, we're teaching people and they're just like, well, I've done it this way for years. Well, the way you're doing is maybe not the most efficient way. I'm trying to protect your body for years or make it more comfortable for the patient. But we see them walking around 5 minutes later and they're doing the same exact thing. That's showing that you're unwilling to learn. And I've seen students at courses and then they're like, okay, I'm doing a fill there. Well, I watched you during the courses and you're not willing to try something new. I get it, lumbar manipulations, for instance. I used to be able, peel people like a banana and like it was easy. And then learning a better, more efficient way, safer way was a bitch. Go from something where I had it like that to I can't do it at all is frustrating as hell. But spending the time, investing, getting mentorship, able to do it all became worth it. All my headaches of doing the manipulation and having a negative response, pretty much I can't remember the last one I had, because I put that investment in, because someone else who's been through it all taught me, this guy, you have to be moldable. And again, at that point, as residency trained, taking a bunch of courses and that sort of stuff. And obviously your mentors, your CIs, they've been through all these sort of things. They just want a good one, just wants you to get better. They want to take all the shortfalls and screw ups they had, try and smooth out the pathway so you don't have to do them. You're going to hit your own. You're going to find out your own, but they're trying to eliminate them as quickly as they can. I mean, my employees, my students, and that sort of stuff, they're picking up. I'm teaching them things, and they're picking up stuff that took me 7-8 years to figure out. But they only pick it up because they show the willingness to learn and be moldable. But if you're resistant and that sort of stuff, you're not going to do well. Because again, let's say if it was especially effective, it was effective, for that person 6, 7, 8 years ago, you're already outdated in a sense. So, maybe be moldable.
With that, and I'm sure you can do this well, and any CI worth his salt or her salt, right, will be able to detect this within, I'll say a week, probably even less. And I'm at the point now, career, like obviously we do a lot. I can tell the students that want to be better. I'm going to take the time out of my busy ass day for the student that is taking time out of their day to become better. And the ones that don't, I am no longer, all right, I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you. Like, dude, you want it or you don't. And if after a couple weeks of us, peppering you and trying to stay in the right direction, like, we're not going to go above and beyond if you're not going above and beyond. You have to want it. You have to want to be better. And granted, everybody has their own definition of what that is, but to go into school or to go into an affiliation and just think that somebody's just going to by osmosis just give you all of their knowledge, it's not going to happen. We're in a learning happens actively in general, even more so for physical therapists. Like it is a learn by doing. I mean, in general, we learn the best by doing, right? Because you fail and then you do it again, you fail and you do it again, right? Except failing is taught to be bad all throughout life. So people are like paralyzed by it, but that's the way you learn. And then you get feedback and you tweak this and you tweak that. But think about riding a bike. How many times did you ride a bike and you fall over before you're able to do it and go, right? Like, and not fall over. Same thing as we get older at life, like trying new things. You're going to fail. You're going to suck. It probably takes you longer just because we're older and not as neuroplastic, right? But you got to put yourself out there. Especially if you want, a good fill, or if you just want this profession to be good for you, you gotta put it out there. You'll be surprised who's willing to help you when you're willing to help yourself. And this is a Chris Rock one. He said that, he was stuck on the side of the road, waving his hand, asking for help. Nobody wanted to help him. Once he started to try and push his car down the road, the amount of people who want to help you when they see that you're trying to help yourself is astonishing.
Oh, there we go. See, it's nice that brought up Chris Rock. That's a great one.
There you go. Brought it full circle here.
Yeah. All right. No, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, the ones I see, even from the shadower level, we have a ton of shadowers. We're in a college environment and that sort of stuff. Yeah, taking one step further from just like active and like, doing that sort of asking questions and that sort of stuff, make it interactive. I think is a big thing. And those who just are quiet and they're just watching, and same with our students that are just like, tree and then do my notes. I'm like, all right, that person, like you're off. You're now officially been labeled a shadower. I don't care what level you are. Don't care what your requirements are. You have to earn your right to treat our clientele. You are a representation of not only the company but the profession. You not putting that extra effort may mean that patient doesn't get better quick enough before that scheduled MRI or wherever the hell it may be, and they end up having a failed therapy experience, and then they go out, get a surgery, and now they're no longer a proponent of our profession. So we need maximum effort all the time, and again, that's how we change our salaries and our opportunities is by being labeled PTs are the expert. More and more people start talking about, hey, I went to PT, even if it was a student, whoever it may be, and they fixed me up. They start talking to 2-3 friends, and then we bring it up on our show of like the percentage of neuromusculoskeletal or musculoskeletal patients that seek out physical therapy. Was it years ago? It's less than 10%. Now it's like close to 20. It should be 80-90%. Besides those severely high trauma where the surgeon needs to go in that day to operate them, we should be a component in everybody's care, and that starts with us being damn good at what we see now. For just simple stupid stuff like impingements of the shoulder or going in for the chromioplasties and bullshit like that. We're never going to get to that point. And that starts off with even students. So that's my last.
You mentioned a great point, and I've said this many times to various people. So we're in 2022. So 2021, I mentored 5 fellows in training, 3 residents, and I don't know how many DPT students. Probably about 10 or 15. What you said about your representation of the job you're at, of the company you're at, like that means a lot. I think more you have to go in with that mindset. If you're a student, understand that like you're a guest in somebody's house, basically. Don't be acting like a fool. And again, like you said, like you have to earn the right to treat the patients. Like that's a privilege, especially in your earlier fills. That's a privilege. Just because you're in a last fill doesn't mean you automatically get entry level. You have to earn that right. And then beyond the company, you're a reflection of your CI. You know, you're spending 3 months with them, right? They're, you know, basically that time, that 3 months you're with them, and that 1 year you guys are in clinic is basically going to set you up for the rest of your life, good or bad, on what you do or how you act. You may not believe it, but your 3rd year of PT school and your first year or 2 out in the real world basically set you up for what the trajectory of the next 30 years in your career is going to be. So, you know, I would advise more students to take it seriously. Something I've told all my I shouldn't say all, but more recently, anyone who mentors under me, like, you're a reflection of me. Don't come in here like half-assing stuff or expecting me to just, you know, teach you everything I know in, you know, the 20 hours when we have together. You know, because at the end of the day, you're going to go back and say, oh, I trained under Brandon. But if you suck, you're not making me look bad because you didn't put the time in. Right. And that's a mindset I had for the people who mentored me. Oh, I mentored under so-and-so. I mentored under Lee. I mentored under Jim. I went to Regis University, Bill and Scott. Like, I want to represent them well because I am a reflection of them. So hopefully I'm doing a good job. Right. But like, let that mean something. You know, when you graduate from a school, you train under a certain person, guru or not guru, CI. You go to a residency, like, you're going to be a representation of them in some capacity. I would think you'd want to, you know, do right by them and understand and take in what they're doing. So I think what you said, that you're a representation of, or you're a representative of the company, but even a step further of the person who's actually teaching you.
I can go off of one more thing that, as the great Dr. Justin Hannes says, what boils my potatoes. If I hear another,
he's such an old man.
He is.
I love it. I love it. It's great.
Love it. Gotta get him on the show.
Yeah.
He's, you know, what boils my potatoes is a lot of times students come in and they'll have the mindset of like, oh, we're paying to be here and we're treating patients, they should pay us. You know, listen now. I mean, if you're at certain places, maybe that's it. I remember my first place of work. I don't think I remember seeing that any interaction between the CI and the student. Legitimately, the student was just, you couldn't tell if she was a employee or not. She was just running through doing all the CI's work. Fine. In that case, yeah, I guess maybe you should get paid. But in places where you're receiving mentorship, you're getting hands-on instruction, you're getting told to, hey, I suggest you read this and watch this and do this. And getting challenged, and you're spending an hour after the end of the day recapping things. That is more of a burden on your CI than anything. That has taken time. You know, when I'm by myself right now, I haven't had enough students. When I have a fellow in training, my day, and I love it to death, is definitely not as fluid as is. I don't have to explain what's in my own brain when I'm treating people. I just go, I flow, I can hit out some notes, go communicate with people. It's great. But when we're mentoring, we're investing into you. All right. So, you know, this whole nonsense of like, oh, we should get paid from that. Yeah, in a crappy situation. But when you seek out a great affill and where you're going to get mentorship, you know, treat it like that. Treat it as an investment versus you just paying into something or not getting paid and viewing it that you're just a, you know, free labor, because you're not. You're really, if anybody, it's the CIs in those situations that should get paid handsomely. So
the school should be paying us to take you in, and that's a debate that's being tossed out now, right? Oh, I'll tell you right now, I'm not taking an intern if I have to pay you, because you guys, and it's not a bad thing. One, it's paying it forward, like you just kind of go through it, right? But like Jeremy said, the amount of time that we have to put in to train, you know, from training to do notes to Therex to cues to manual therapy to just how to be a professional, a working professional. It's not easy. And if anything, the school should be paying us to take students, not us paying the students to work. because honestly, especially most students in their first like 2 to 3 fills just don't know anything.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you don't. As much as you think you know, you don't.
No, which is the reason why you should be moldable, going back to our previous thing. So, yeah, hopefully,
And it's not a bad thing. We're all there. I mean, Jeremy and I were there. You know, and I thought I knew a shit ton coming into school, and I was like, get out of my way. I got this. But like, you know, it's asking those questions. It's being moldable. It's getting to that point. Yeah. By halfway through my fills, my CI didn't need to, be looking over my shoulder because I had even in the settings I didn't want to be in, like acute and actually my neuro one was okay, but I didn't want to do it. I learned, I told her, I was like, hey, I'm going to do orthopedics. I'm here because I have to obviously get my stuff done. Teach me what I need to know. I'll learn what I need to know. And then, that's it. But like, and I told the story with my neuro one. Like I was sitting in the wings for 4 weeks because there was another student in front of me. My CI thought he was going to fail me because I wasn't doing anything. Once that other student left, literally day 2 in, I was just like, Craig, I got it. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, jump in. But after 4 weeks of watching, I know what I'm doing. And he quickly changed me to, from almost failing to, entry level or close to it within that week because I had proved to him what I can do. And it wasn't a setting that I was ever going to go into. But I had learned and took the time in the 4 weeks where I was sitting on the bench. I was like Aaron Rodgers there behind Brett Favre, right? Just learning. And then finally I had my chance to prove myself. But in the beginning, yeah, he told me, he was like, yeah, I thought I was going to have to fail you. You didn't seem like you were interested. I was like, you didn't have me doing anything. So then he's like, all right, I have to communicate more with you. And, we got past it. One of my best CIs, Craig Fox out there, definitely challenged me a hell of a lot, taught me a hell of a lot, but you got to be willing to do it, even if you're in a setting that you don't want to be.
Right, yeah. And that's it too, is hopefully going with open minds and that sort of stuff. And being my neurophil, I think in the first couple of weeks I was in, I got talk from my CI, shout out Wendy. I think I was really shitty at vital signs, I remember. Notes I was notoriously like slow at, wrote just too much crap. And then yeah, just some, I guess, rationale, certain things with like I was, which is probably still a character flaw of mine, overly optimistic with that type of population. It's good to be over optimistic in the ortho realm, but there's certain things you have to taper for, strokes and SCIs and that sort of stuff. But yeah, she challenged me. It wasn't anything I was surprised about. I can sense it. And I rose to the occasion. I became she gave me a great idea of like, well, she told me it was even that became walking class. I don't know if they were been part of walking classes in patient rehab, but pretty much they just walk around in a circle. I became the vitals guy for a week, and now I'm a machine at it. And when you do 100 vital signs in less than an hour, you become really good at it. But we developed a plan and that sort of stuff, and it became from a point of I was struggling to, by the end of it, I love the AFL, and I saw myself working, and the head of director of rehab said, if you ever want a job here, which was a tough place to get a job, said that we would hire you. And at one point I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll go down the narrow route. And then I got into sports. I was like, I'm going to sports. So just loving the profession, no matter where it is, because no matter where type of setting, there is a lot of beauty in all types of PT. But sometimes you'll come out the gates a little rough, and that's okay. If anything, it's gonna just make you better.
Make you better.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of tough love and taking your lumps and having I guess rough times, because that's going to help mold you, and that's going to kind of I guess give you a better understanding of what type of person you are. You're going to persevere and work through it, or you're just going to kind of give up and complain. We all complain to an extent. We all get frustrated and things like that, but are you going to work through it and figure out the solution, or are you just going to sit there and write write the person off, write the situation off, or are you going to just try and like you said about Mike earlier, you're just going to try and at least learn one thing or take away one thing from that area before you move on.
Yeah. And a related note, I'm going to give a shout out to Kayla Parsons, who's a former student of mine, who's taking our courses, and she's a prime example of this. She came in and she was struggling early on from a confidence standpoint, from a rationale standpoint. And we weren't having, again, your representation, and this is a 6-month fill. 6 months, you're gonna have to see patients, and the expectations was to be entry level, so you have to see people independently. She took it upon herself to, at first she was concerned and everything like that, and we made her do push-ups for every time she didn't express confidence in a situation, because she had it here. And instead of complaining about it, or curling up in a ball and just taking a beating, essentially, she rose to the occasion. And then I can say it's probably one of my most, not that proud as I took a responsibility, proud of her, but she went from this person who's like timid and all that sort of stuff to the end of her fill. She was like bossing in a good way, instructing and coaching the other students and questioning their rationale, like, well, why didn't you add this and that? I was just like, so hyped about that. So you can start pretty rough, and you can make amazing comebacks, but it takes you to do it. Your CIs can only push you so much. So make sure you're doing that. Hopefully you'll have to get into those situations, but again, I think I don't think there's any better growth than when you're down on the count per se. So
yeah,
shout out you, Kayla, hopefully listening still.
Awesome stuff.
But great stuff.
We'll wrap it up with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay tuned for our next episodes and listen to our intro for upcoming courses and stuff. And cheers, everybody.
Cheers.